Right now, somewhere in your yard, a bird's heart rate is dropping, its body temperature is falling on purpose, and it has no intention of waking up until it has to. At the same time, hundreds of feet above your roof, a bird you fed all summer might be crossing the Gulf of Mexico in total darkness, navigating by stars. Every single night, while you sleep 15 feet away with a wall between you. This is happening. You've just never had a reason to look. Today we're going past sunset into the part of a bird's life almost nobody sees. 5 things happening in your yard and in the sky, above it between dusk and dawn. What's actually driving each one biologically, and a few extra facts most videos on this topic leave out completely. Stay through to the end, because the last one is happening over your house tonight, and once you know how to check for it, you'll never look at a spring or fall evening the same way again. Number 1. Where your birds actually go at sunset. Every species handles nightfall differently, and the northern cardinal is one of the easiest to track. In the hour before sunset, a cardinal moves into the densest cover it can find near its daytime territory, a thicket, an evergreen shrub, a tangle of vines, usually within a few hundred feet of where it spent the day. It isn't primarily chasing warmth, it's chasing invisibility, since a roosting bird can't watch for predators the way an active one can. Cardinals are creatures of habit here too. The same individual will often return to the exact same roost spot night after night for weeks or months. The black-capped chickadee does something far stranger. On cold nights, chickadees enter regulated hypothermia, deliberately lowering their body temperature by as much as 10-12 C below their normal daytime level. Their metabolism and heart rate drop sharply. This isn't ordinary sleep, it's closer to a controlled, reversible shutdown that lets an 11-gram bird, about the weight of 2 pennies, survive a night that would otherwise cost more energy than its fat reserves can cover. Chickadees do this alone, tucked into old woodpecker holes, bark crevices, or nest boxes where the cavity walls trap body heat. Extra fact, right before settling in, chickadees also fluff their feathers to trap a thicker layer of insulating air, the same principle as a down jacket, which works alongside hypothermia rather than instead of it. If you want to support this behavior, leave a dense, unclipped shrub or brush pile somewhere in your yard through winter, and consider mounting a roost box with the entrance near the bottom, since heat rises and pools at the top of the cavity the opposite orientation from a standard nest box. Number 2. The communal roost. Some birds you'd never expect to be social sleepers become exactly that once the temperature drops. The Eastern Bluebird is fiercely territorial in the breeding season. A male will chase off any other male that gets close to his nest box. In winter, that same bird will cram into a nest box with up to a dozen other bluebirds and sleep pressed against them for warmth. Researchers have documented nest boxes in the eastern U.S. holding 12 to 15 bluebirds on a single cold night birds that during the day wouldn't tolerate each other within 30 feet, sharing a 6-inch cavity without conflict. Carolina wrens show a milder version of the same pattern, sometimes sharing roost cavities with other wrens despite being territorial by day. What this tells you about your yard is simple. Nest boxes and dense cover aren't just breeding infrastructure, they're survival infrastructure, and leaving them up year-round, not just during spring, can be the difference between birds that make it to morning and birds that don't. Extra fact, this strategy has limits. Even communal roosting can't always offset an extreme multi-day cold snap, and wildlife biologists have documented die-offs in small cavity roosting species like wrens during unusually severe winter storms. If you have old nest boxes, clean them out in fall rather than taking them down an empty, dry box in October is a potential life-saving shelter in January. Number 3. How birds navigate the dark and what they're listening for. A roosting bird isn't fully switched off. Researchers call this state unihemispheric slow-wave sleep. One half of the brain rests while the other stays alert, with the eye connected to the awake hemisphere kept open and scanning. The two sides trade off periodically, so both, eventually, get rest. But the bird is never fully unconscious the way a sleeping human is. This was first documented clearly in mallard ducks. Birds sleeping at the edge of a row kept their outward-facing eye open and alert, while birds in the center of the group, protected on all sides, slept with both eyes closed. Vigilance was shared across the flock rather than carried by every individual equally. The same principle plays out in your yard. A chickadee roosting in a tree cavity isn't oblivious. A snapped twig, a claw-scraping bark, or the alarm call of a robin flushed by a cat can trigger instant alertness. That great horned owl calling from the oak at 10 p.m. is being heard by every bird roosting within range. Extra fact: this half-brain sleep isn't unique to birds. Dolphins and other marine mammals use the same strategy so they can keep breathing and stay alert to predators while resting. And in one of the more remarkable extensions of this research, scientists tracking frigate birds during transoceanic flights found they can use unihemispheric sleep to nap in short bursts while airborne, staying aloft for days without ever landing. Your yard at midnight looks empty and silent, but it's running an active sensory network the entire time, which is also a good reason to keep cats indoors overnight, since a roosting bird's defenses are built for owls and hawks, not an ambush predator waiting at eye level in the shrub it's sleeping in. Number 4. The birds you never knew were nocturnal. Most people file their backyard birds under daytime only. A few break that rule in ways that would surprise you. The American robin is famously one of the first voices in the dawn chorus, but robins are also highly sensitive to artificial light. In well-lit urban and suburban yards, robins will sometimes start singing at 1 or 2 a.m. because streetlights or porch lights trigger the same hormonal response as approaching sunrise. If you've ever heard a bird singing in the dead of night near a street lamp, it was almost certainly a robin. The mourning dove looks like the sleepiest bird in the yard, by day slow, unhurried, easy to overlook. But when a predator approaches at night, a roosting dove can launch into fast, whistling flight in complete darkness within a fraction of a second. That sharp whistling sound isn't incidental. It's produced by specialized wing feathers and functions as an alarm signal, warning other doves nearby that danger is close, even when none of them can see it. Extra fact: this is also where nighttime light pollution becomes more than a curiosity. Robins singing at 1 a.m. under a streetlight are burning energy and disrupting a hormonal cycle meant to be triggered once a day, and research links artificial light exposure to earlier nesting timing that doesn't always match up with peak insect availability for feeding chicks. A simple fix if you want to help: switch outdoor lights to motion-activated or warm, shielded fixtures rather than leaving a porch light on all night. Number 5. What's flying over your house right now? This is the one that changes how you look at the night sky. Twice a year, roughly late April through May, and again in September and October, the airspace above your neighborhood fills with migrating birds. On peak nights, the number crossing a single point in the eastern United States can reach into the millions, and these aren't exotic strangers. They're your birds. A wood thrush that sang from your trees last June may have spent the winter in Central America and, right now, could be flying north above your roof in total darkness. A ruby-throated hummingbird headed for your feeder may cross the Gulf of Mexico in a single non-stop flight of roughly 500 miles, navigating by stars and Earth's magnetic field while burning fat reserves comparable to a person running back-to-back marathons. You can actually watch this happen. BirdCast, a free migration forecasting tool built by the Cornell Lab of Ornithology, Colorado State University, and UMass Amherst, uses National Weather Service radar to track bird migration in real time. On a heavy migration night, the radar image over the eastern U.S. can look exactly like a slow-moving storm system, except it isn't rain or cloud cover. It's the collective mass of birds, in numbers large enough to return a radar signal that meteorologists had to learn to tell apart from precipitation. Extra fact: this is directly tied to one of the biggest preventable causes of bird death in North America: Migrating birds navigate at night using natural light cues, and bright building and city lights can pull them off course, causing exhausted, disoriented birds to collide with windows or circle-lit structures until they drop from exhaustion events known as fallouts. Many cities now run seasonal lights-out programs, asking residents and building owners to turn off unnecessary outdoor lighting during peak migration weeks. Checking BirdCast's local migration forecast and switching off exterior lights on high-traffic nights is one of the simplest, highest-impact things you can do for birds you'll never even see. So the next time your yard goes quiet at dusk, the feeder empties, the branches stop moving, understand that what you're looking at isn't absence, it's concealment. The cardinal is tucked into your holly bush. The chickadee is in the woodpecker hole in the oak, its body temperature deliberately falling toward the minimum it needs to survive until morning. And somewhere above your roofline, birds you won't see again until May might be passing through in their thousands, running on a system of navigation, endurance, and half-brain vigilance that has nothing to do with daylight at all. Have you ever heard birds singing in the middle of the night? Or noticed something moving through your yard after dark that you couldn't explain at the time? Tell me exactly what you heard or saw in the comments. I read every one. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.